Uli, this question's for you. In cycling, for example, we see the teams being built and so on. Are there super agents in cycling, and are there teams that only work with one agent, for example?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't think it's similar to what we see in football. So I'm not as versed in other sports as much as you are across all the spectrum and used to play soccer when I was a kid and don't know much about it since. I don't see it in cycling. There are certain agents that take care of the top riders, but at the end of the day, the ones that really make money, make good money, make top money, there's a very few, and they have good agents. And I think that the one thing that I'm always worried about is collusion, that you see the agents working together with the teams, with the managers, with the federation to put the people in the right place. And in cycling, you always have to look at the other end of things where there are riders that are professionals that actually pay to ride their bikes for a professional team. So they're not getting a salary; they're actually paying to ride there because they come from families they can afford that.
Uli, I'm going to ask you. I'm sorry for jumping across you. You've just said something that we started off speaking about Formula One, speaking about Schumacher. We always knew that in Formula One, paid drivers, guys who had a rich father or a rich company backing them. For example, a lot of Japanese drivers would have had, sports manufacturers or sports engine manufacturers or sports car manufacturers. Cycling is the same.
I wouldn't say it's the same. I would say there are some. It's not allowed. So it's I don't know how far it was allowed in Formula One, but it's really like, if there's a rider who wants to be a pro, but he's on the cusp, and there's another one similar level, maybe better, but one is going to pay and the other one not. And in the situation in the lower level pro teams is that they don't have the money as the bigger teams to spend on riders. They say, well, this one comes for free. He's going to be a domestique. It's fine. And then they ride. And sometimes it may not be that they're coming for free, but for like below the minimum salary that exists for the World Tour, for example. So I think if you look at a sport like pro cycling, you're not running into the same issues as you do with football. And the top guys, sure, they're getting paid well, and there's the managers for that. And as in all of society, whatever business you go in, there's people working together, gaming the system. And I think that's always a risk also there, that just working together, and the managers find their place in. And obviously many of them are former riders, so it's all like, to use a bad word for it, it's all mafia.
Well,
what kind of sum of money are we talking here? What's the sort of sum that you would have to pay to get if you're just a nobody and you want to go join in, how much would you have to pay to join one of these teams?
Andy's asking for a reason, Uli. So you see him next year in Lycra flying up the Alpe d'Huez. So
flying down, I think.
So I don't think you can pay your way to be a Tour de France rider. So forget about that. If we're talking pro level, lower level pro team, you probably pay like your 2,000-3,000 euro a month to be a rider on the team, which would be the salary you would be getting if you would be a normal rider. So really lower tier level, but that way getting into pro races that, unless you're a nerd you've never heard of, you're probably not going to finish one of those races. You're going to be taking care of your leader for the first 100K and call it a day. That's the kind of job, and that's for people that just want to experience the pro life. And I do understand it, because as in many sports, I think cycling has a lot of this, like all the equipment, all the everything, all the attire that comes with it. That is a lot of fun. I have a lot of friends that used to race pro. They were never anything really good, but I said they missed that. They hated pro cycling very quickly because it's not what you expect it is, but they always loved what comes with it. You go to the training camp, everybody same outfit, bikes, and at the races you all roll in. It's like sort of like, I think what guys like, what comes with it is like walking into a stadium. Same thing also in cycling, and get a taste of that. If you're not selected as a rider because you're not good enough, but you can pay your way in because your parents have the money, it happens.
Uli, just before we go to Andrews, because we're going to have to move on quickly to the next topic as well. Uli, what, for example, in let's say an average team, if you name a team and just tell us roughly what would be the salary of the lowest paid cyclist on a world tour team, one that went in the Tour de France this year?
100 a year, 80,000 a year. But at the Tour de France, yeah, probably like the last ride. I would guess something like that. I'm not in the loop of what they exactly are getting, but it is like you retire, you have a couple months, and then it's back to work, unless you're maybe by yourself. But if you have a wife, kids, what is usual for a pro cyclist, they get married quite early because they're a lot on the road. They want to make sure they're all settled with that, so they have kids. So I know many of them, they say I'll take some time, but they get back to doing something pretty quickly because they have to.
Okay.